our webinar, we turn our focus to the unjust and destructive consequences of colonialism around the world, the consequences and evils of theft. To assess and understand modern-day inequalities in the United States and around the globe, we must look to the past, for it is there that the roots of these inequalities reside. The systems of power and privilege that are in place today that benefit some and disenfranchise others are rooted in histories of theft and injustice. In considering colonialism's historical pattern of maintaining power among the powerful while subjugating and disenfranchising indigenous peoples, we must also consider its contemporary consequences. We must ask ourselves, what do the powerful steal from the less powerful? How do they do it? Why do they do it? What are the consequences? And how is it justified by people who call themselves Christians? How can we meaningfully reject the sin of settler colonialism and support instead indigenous peoples' liberation struggles with the aim of achieving greater equality and equity around the globe?
When we talk about colonialism in Africa, colonialism was kind of implemented and still continued to affect and impact the African continent and people of African descent in very different ways. The basis for colonialism is basically disrespecting humanity or taking away your human dignity. It first takes away your humanity, your unu in my mother language, where our southern neighbors in South Africa called Ubuntu in the Zulu. So it takes away your unu and makes you a subhuman, makes you substandard. You are not fully human. That's the basis of colonialism. And therefore, you cannot make decisions. You cannot own or possess rights, decisions, authority, power, and you are not entitled to anything. And this is how colonialism unmasked itself in Africa. And this kind of took different levels. In Africa, that was carefully executed in phases. Number one was to label the continent a dark continent, black continent, which there's nothing. So the image that is always created of Africa is nothing. Even if you look on the world map, you hardly believe that United States, Canada, India, China, they all fit into Africa. But if you look on the map, Africa always looks tiny. That is a colonial process that is preparing the world's mind that this is a place that is so small and insignificant. No matter that, that's the biggest continent on the surface of the earth that can swallow 2, 3 other continents into it. But you see, that is basically to portray that message in the mind, to colonize the mind, colonize the thinking. So then the next phase was capturing humans like natural resources to be exploited for economic development. So the people in Africa, because they had already been described as non-human and nothing, now they were like natural resources of the world. So Africa is a source of the world's natural resources for its development. So the human beings who were there, they were captured as resources to be used for the development of Europe and the Americas. And we saw the trans-Atlantic slave trade, Europe and the Americas gaining its economic development from these world's natural resources. And because it has been projected that we are not humans, and the world has been projected and prepared itself that these are not human. So you see, when the world began to say, no, we cannot continue with this genocide of capturing human beings and use them. Now when we can no longer capture these human beings, now moved to the next phase, which is capturing the animals, the wild animals, mineral resources. And then we see the hunters and explorers coming into Africa to develop the mines, hunting the elephants, the hide and everything, and the other natural resources. And then when that was exploited, and now we see the next phase is to occupy the space. Now the settlers are coming. And that's where usually people try to think that's the beginning of colonialism. It is something that had started centuries earlier. So now the space has been occupied, and now we have the settlers. I come from a country where we had the last fort of settlers hanging on, the Rhodesians and the Boers in South Africa. So the Rhodesians in Zimbabwe, the Boers in South Africa, they are settlers. They are now claiming this is our land, this is our place. And this is the same brand of Europeans who settle in Canada, in the United States, in South Africa, in Rhodesia, to disenfranchise natives and claim that this is our land, we are the owners, and all those who are here, this no longer belongs to you because you cannot be entitled to anything. Comes moment of control by development education systems that inculcates division among the native people. You are always divided, you are fighting against each other as the decolonization process was coming. Then when the political decolonization happens, then come the economic colonial systems. And in the process, others were accumulating power, accumulating resources. That is economic, social, political power that has been accumulated. Now, when we say let's have respectful dialogue, I think it is important for our brothers and sisters in the Europe and Americas to understand that they are wielding that power that they accumulated through colonialism. And that power can be economic, can be whatever form of power, can be political. And that is what I have seen, that power being abused, that power being used to keep those who lost power through colonial programs. Now, even if we say, let's stop, there is no equal dialogue, there's no respectful dialogue. There's no, so I think that is something very critical, especially for the church to understand that. And the point I really would like to make is destroy the indigenous people's religion and thinking and way of life. There is a very strong relationship between the European American politics and religion. So when all this that I've said was happening, religion was always tagging along. And we people of faith, we say that what Christ did to that was to dismantle all that. He respected all human beings. He validated all people irrespective of who they were. He crossed the social, economic, spiritual, religious, and holiness barriers, kind of destroying all that and restoring human dignity.